Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor, crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Poilievre slams dirty backroom deals, while the newest Liberal MP disowns her Conservative past. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Going beyond the headlines.
Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It's becoming a familiar scene for Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party leader, standing in front of a microphone, staring into the television cameras, trying to hold the government to account, but instead being forced to explain why yet another one of his MPs has decided the grass is greener on the Liberal side of the House.
If you ran in an election, you went out and you said to little old ladies, to veterans, to truckers, to single moms, that you were going to stand up for the Conservative platform of affordability, safety, and national sovereignty, and to do so as part of the Conservative Party that people voted for, then you should respect those people and honor your word.
That was Pierre Poilievre in Burnaby yesterday with a blistering attack against the latest floor crosser, Marilyn Gladu. She was elected 4 times as a Conservative, but switched sides on Wednesday in what Poilievre called a dirty backroom deal.
Mark Carney is saying is that your vote doesn't count, that he's going to use backroom dirty deals to reverse the election result in countless ridings, robbing people of their voice and giving him the power to raise your cost of living. That is wrong. He should respect the democratic will of the Canadian people.
When asked what this says about his ability to lead his party, given that this is the 4th Conservative MP to join the Liberals, Poilievre pointed to his recent support at the Conservative Party's convention and the Conservative Party's results in the last federal election, the best for that party since the late 1980s.
Record-smashing 8.3 million Canadians who voted Conservative in the last election, and the 87% of grassroots Conservatives who backed up my leadership less than 90 days ago to fight for an affordable, safe, and strong Canada. Our mandate and my leadership does not come from dirty backroom deals. It comes from the people of Canada. What this comes down to is who runs this country, who leads this country. Is it a bunch of backroom schemers and elites who rob people of their votes? Or is it the hardworking common people who should be running the country in a democracy? That's the decision.
While Poilievre was getting grilled for losing another MP, the MP at the center of it was being feted at the Liberal convention underway in Montreal. Marilyn Gladu met with the news media and tried to convince Canadians she's been a Liberal all along, as she disowned many of her past and well-documented Conservative beliefs, and as she squirmed about her previous demand that MPs who crossed the floor should run in a by-election.
100% I agree with what the Prime Minister said. I will vote with the government. I will protect the rights and freedoms of women to choose, for people to be who they are and love who they love.
But you said before that you would put that MPs cross the floor, that they should run in a by-election. So when do you intend to resign your seat and run in a by-election or follow through in the case?
Well, I also said that in order for that to happen, the Elections Act has to be changed. And the Elections Act has to be changed to make sure that people will have to either sit as independents or call a by-election. That law has not been changed. And so when it does, I would be happy to do that.
You know you could.
Did you ask the Prime Minister to get that law changed so that you could run in a by-election?
I've had many discussions with the Prime Minister, but what I'm hearing is from people that are saying saying, look, this is a critical moment for our country, and we need to get building those nation-building projects, and we need to diversify our trade. We need to address these tariffs that are unjustified in the U.S. And so I'm going to be working with the Prime Minister and the new Liberal team to address those things.
Do you still oppose a ban on conversion therapy? Do you still oppose a ban on conversion therapy?
I oppose conversion therapy. I always did. The first bill that came out had freedom of expression issues. Once they fixed that, it was the party I was with at the time that passed a unanimous consent motion to see that pass. So 100% of people are against conversion therapy, myself included.
As for Prime Minister Mark Carney, he's facing questions about what it means to be a Liberal these days. Marilyn Gladu has no history as a Liberal. In fact, she has a long record of espousing views that would have disqualified her in years past from even running for the Liberal Party as a candidate.
It's the values of the Liberal Party, the values of solidarity, of inclusivity, of sustainability, the fundamental protections in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Those are our core values. And I would add to that dynamism, building this country, ambition for this country. Those are the values that members of our caucus hold to. This is why we ran. I'm influenced by all their perspective. I am by their. Don't laugh. Say hey. But because we have those common approaches, and those who come to us support those approaches. And you know, one over life. You know, one grows, one changes perspective, and one also sees where the priorities are.
Well, Mark Carney's Liberals are certainly riding high these days. They still enjoy a double-digit lead in most of the polls. They have just attracted their 5th floor crosser in less than a year. And come Monday, with the conclusion of 3 by-election campaigns, the Liberal Party will most likely have a majority government. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
He's our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, and leadership. Barry McLoughlin is the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants with offices in Ottawa and Washington. Barry teaches at the University of Ottawa's Professional Development Institute and at Cape Breton University's Shannon School of Business. You can follow Barry on his Substack, listen to his podcast, and he joins us every Friday. Welcome back.
Great to be with you, Rob.
Well, Liberal Party convention is happening in Montreal, Barry. This is day 2. All smiles in Liberal land these days as they welcome yet another floor crosser, Marilyn Gladu, who's not a Liberal. She's a Liberal MP now. She's not a Liberal. She's never been a Liberal. And yet that doesn't seem to bother Mark Carney. Should it?
Well, no. In fairness, every prime minister that's really near the edge, almost cross over into majority government land. It's a difference between night and day. So it's part of a momentum. I don't think he necessarily says, "Oh, I really want her in my caucus." No, but the fact that she was willing to come over, he's not going to turn a cold shoulder to her. So, the funny thing is, even though it can be hurtful, nevertheless, it rarely proves to be hurtful that the floor crosser and the party that he or she crosses to suffers. Doesn't really happen very often. So I think in the end, it's just one more that crossed over, and there may be more to come. And this is on the eve of at least 2 seats that he's probably going to get on Monday in the by-elections.
Okay, but what does it say? I mean, this is the prime minister who wrote a book called Values. Values. We have to have values. We have to be morally grounded and have values. I mean, what does this say about his values? This is it sounds very transactional to me, Barry. What about you? What does this say about his values?
Yeah, I mean, would Justin Trudeau have accepted Marilyn Gladu would be an important distinction, because I think Justin wore his values on his sleeve. He doesn't really wear them on his sleeve. He's pretty tight-lipped about a lot of things. Certainly of a personal nature. He has to be careful of that. I mean, really, she is as conservative as you can get in modern politics, right? From welcoming the Freedom Convoy to Ottawa to, anti-vaccine, on and on and on. I mean, these are things that are, keys to the Liberal value set, if you like. They keep on saying now, they go back to the old-fashioned phrase, big tent, we're big tent. You haven't actually heard that since prior to Justin Trudeau, until those times. So he has to be careful. There's no question about it. I'm not sure who would be the one that would, that would define that. But this is about as conservative person as he's bringing on board, from what I know. Certainly
by far, by far.
So it is a cautionary note. It's not just sort of, if he kept going on this, let's say you get about 5 or 10 more like that, Larry Brock and a few others, you go, okay, now, wait a minute. What do we stand for anymore? What do we stand for? Oh, it turns out not very much. Okay, that is a problem, because Liberals have got hurt in the past for, center line on the one hand, but on the other, trying to ride that line. And it got them, I think, a lot of trouble over the years. So
campaign from the left, govern from the right, Barry. That used to be the line about certainly the Chrétien Martin Liberals. You campaign from the left, you govern from the right. Okay, so this is what I want to get at as well. What does this say about the brand of the Liberal Party? Okay, you're a big tent, you're a coalition party, but really, what does this say about the brand of the Liberal Party? Is it a progressive Liberal Party? Is it a progressive conservative party? What is it?
Well, it's not a progressive party. We have not heard the word progressive attached to Liberals since Mr. Carney got in. I don't recall that. Is he a small L Liberal? I don't know. He's a large L Liberal, but is he a small L Liberal? These are things that, certainly in recent history, you would say, yes, that does they squeezed the NDP out by doing that. They stole their, most of what their big ticket items were, squeezed them right out of play. They may not be able to come back. And they own the center left, which is what Jean Chrétien said was the key to the future. We have to squeeze the NDP right out of here to become a two-party system. Well, looks like it was happening. But now I think it's really what it says more about Pierre Poilievre right now than it does about what it says about Mark Carney. That's really the big ticket question going on.
Let me ask you this. What are people in your circle saying? Barry, you're a plugged-in guy. You talk to a lot of political people with a lot of scar tissue in the political game. Do we have a conservative prime minister in this country?
Well, small secrets. Yes, I think people think that he is the right man at the right time. They're not putting a label on him like that. They're saying he's the guy to stand up for Canada against Trump and all of the world of uncertainty around us. We love it when other countries love him, love our prime minister. And that's for sure. Everywhere you go, they love Mark Carney, and we like that. So he is on a real high now. He's on a big wave. It's hard to knock that wave off with one person coming across like that. If 8 or 10 more came that were of the same ilk, that may be problematic. Who is this guy would become a much more important question. Right now, I don't think it's a dominant question.
Okay. Well, certainly there have been a lot of questions for Pierre Poilievre this week about what it means for him, his ability to manage a caucus, even his future as leader of this party. I want to ask you about that and play you some of the new ads that have been playing on social media, on television. They've done an ad buy. Get your thoughts on those. One about affordability, one with Poilievre's take on sovereignty. When we return, Barry McLoughlin is with us, as he is every week, from TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
We're back with Barry McLoughlin, the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. So it's 4 MPs have left the Conservative team, joined the Liberal team. The Conservatives are behind by double digits in the polls. When it comes to preferred prime minister, Mr. Carney's marks are much higher than Pierre Poilievre's marks on that score. We had a report in the Toronto Star this week, 40 MPs, according to Conservative sources, say, I don't think I can win if Pierre Poilievre is the leader of this party. And one of those Conservative sources said, he's got to go. What do you think about these developments and what they mean for Pierre Poilievre's future as the leader of the Conservative Party?
Yeah, this is not good. I mean, you really don't. Within a few months of him finally getting a seat in the House, he loses 4, I thought it was 5 now, but anyway, 4 at least, Gus up to more, MPs from his caucus. She didn't like, she said it, she didn't like his type of leadership. They like the leadership style of Mr. Carney. They like what he's doing. Wow. This hasn't been around in many a year, that kind of feeling. I was at this restaurant last night. You asked me about Ottawa. It happened to be a table full of Tories. They're lobbyists. So, 3 or 4 of them said to me, I'm not voting Conservative again. Well, Pierre Poilievre is the leader. I went, whoa, these are like lifelong Tories. It really surprised me that they came right out with it. So I'm not saying that's not a poll or anything. I think they've shown some good signs, to be fair. I mean, I think he's really rebalanced how he's coming across personally. I think he's standing up now for Canada much more clearly, what he stands for vis-a-vis Trump and the tariffs and all that. So those are good moves. He's making some good moves, but boy, this is what you can't quite control. He's trying to lay down the law here to tell them, if you think I'm kind of shaming her, watch out when you come across. The thing is, Carney doesn't need them as much. It's nice to have a cushion. He's going to have like cushion of 2 or something. It's nice. Mm-hmm. But she jumped a few days before that magic moment. She got in there while he was still in minority government. So, I think more may well happen. I don't think it's an avalanche. I think that's kind of overstated. I think a lot of people, by the way, keep this in mind, I think. People are very patient about Mark Carney. He's promising a lot. He's spending, or I should say, they only invest now, investing a lot. And, we have to see the results. We got to start seeing that. And obviously,
on that,
after this summer,
let's get to this ad. I think this is a really good ad on an issue that has not gone away and potentially is only going to get worse because of the energy prices and the food prices. This Conservative ad about affordability. Let's listen to this.
Canadians will hold account by their experience at the grocery store. They will form those judgments, and then, of course, accountability comes at the ballot box.
Mom, can we get those?
Not today. Everything's just so expensive.
Has it always been this bad?
I'm worried it's only going to get worse.
I think that's a good ad, Barry. What do you think in a minute or less?
It is actually, this is strength, down to consumer level. You can't be up there, the 300,000 foot level. You got to be right down there where consumers are. And I think that's a good one. I think it shows people are worried. They're anxious. We're doing a seminar in Cape Breton coming up in June, and it's get your message across in an age of uncertainty. Everybody's uncertain. They're all interested in uncertainty. What do we do about it? I think he nails it with that.
Okay. We'll wrap it up there for this week, my friend. Great to hear from you, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rob. Okay.
Now, that's Barry McLoughlin from TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Tom Korski, the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter, coming up right after the latest breaking news here on News Radio.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
He's been minding Ottawa's business. Tom Korski is back with us. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob.
There will be 3 by-elections on Monday. The Liberals only need to win 1 to have the bare majority. They'd like to win 2 so the Speaker doesn't have to vote. There's a good chance they could win all 3 and have a majority government. So how, if that comes to pass and it's a Liberal majority government, for our listeners, Tom, for their benefit, how would our government change after the by-elections, given the near certainty of a Liberal majority government?
Well, it always comes down to the votes. Some people are interested in procedure, but really it's all about the votes. And if you don't have the votes, and they haven't had them since 2019 in a majority parliament, there's much that you cannot do. One of the core functions of a majority government is to control committees. You want to keep them on a very tight leash. And Cabinet has really lost that for 7 years now. That has resulted in no end of investigations, embarrassing disclosures, subpoenas, calls to the bar of recalcitrant contractors, RCMP investigations, you name it. You can just quash all that when you have a majority, because you send your minions down to committee and tell them to kill any motion that looks like it's not going to go our way. That's a pretty big deal. And in addition, of course, you can start to introduce legislation that would never happen without the votes, such as a Cabinet's fetish for control and regulation of legal internet content. They're still kicking that around. They've tried twice before and failed because they didn't have the votes, Rob.
So let's go a little more in depth in how this, for example, could impact the opposition party's ability to investigate the government and hold the government to account. I'm thinking about a couple of scandals in recent years in the minority government situation. For example, let's take We Charity. Okay, everybody remembers the We Charity scandal, hauling the Kielburger brothers before committee to testify on the record. What did you know? When did you know it? Who? How did you get this money? What were you doing as part of this program? People remember it was Charlie Angus, the former NDP MP, along with Pierre Poilievre. They were both on the committee. They were kind of tag teaming, grilling the Kielburger brothers. And when they were refusing to testify, Mr. Angus would say, "You can't refuse to testify or answer the questions." I'm wondering, in a majority situation, could the government even, say, in that scenario, prevent the Kielburgers from even appearing at a committee?
Absolutely. You do it because you have the votes in committee. You can just quash any motion. It's a big deal. The case you mentioned, Rob, that drove a finance minister from office, Bill Morneau. That's a pretty big deal in this town. In the case of ArriveCan, the famous app, the investigations in committee led to an RCMP investigation and a lifetime ban for 2 federal contractors. In the case of the Trudeau Foundation, it was a Public Accounts Committee motion that ordered the Canada Revenue Agency to conduct an audit that resulted in the Trudeau Foundation cutting all ties to the Trudeau family. That's what happens when you don't have the votes. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and I was also, another example I was thinking about was the Green Slush Fund scandal. The people at SRDC who were on the board of directors at that place who were advancing funds into companies that they themselves had a personal stake in. Things like that might never be uncovered if it's a Liberal majority government, right? Or a majority government. I'm talking more about process, I guess, than partisanship here.
Absolutely. The case you mentioned, Sustainable Development Technology Canada, that the cabinet collapsed that slush fund. A federal agency had been around for 20 years. They collapsed it the day of the audit. The audit was that damning. I mean, these are little mushroom clouds that happen in a minority parliament. Oh, you better believe that opposition MPs will still be digging, but they'll be reduced to making ironic comments to reporters in the corridors outside the House of Commons because they won't have the votes. They don't have the hammer in committee.
Yeah, this is why I was telling the listeners shortly after the results of the last federal election, less than a year ago, almost coming up to the first anniversary now, and the Liberals being so close to majority government territory, I said to the listeners at that time, here's what's going to happen. The whip and the House leader, they are going to be working the phones morning, noon, and night. They are going to be reaching out to all the MPs in all the other parties. Who wants to come over? Who wants to come over? What will it take to get you over? And here we are, as your outlet reported this week, Tom, we are in a position now where we have had so many floor crossers in the last year that we've never had anything like it, in 117 years or something like that?
true fact. The last time was in 1917, literally over First World War conscription. How's that for a point of principle? There's no points of principle in this. There's really an aura of sleaziness, forgive my language, to these four-crossers. This is no deep point of principle. The last time there was this sort of exodus from opposition benches to a governing party was to the pro-draft Conservative Party to win the First World War. How's that for context?
Yeah. So when we come back, we will get into how Tom has been minding Ottawa's business and what they've been digging up, like curious policies around accounting and records retention at some of our embassies abroad. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Tom Korski is with us, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter. You have a heck of a story today. I must admit, as I read it, I was just astonished by what auditors have uncovered in recent years about records retention at Canadian embassies. Tom, tell us more.
Oh, when the cat's away, the mice will play. This is an internal audit. That's interesting. Not an external audit, not the Auditor General. This is one of their employees in the Department of Foreign Affairs came up with this audit of what they called service line projects. What does that mean? This is spending at missions and embassies abroad by local Canadian diplomats assigned there that is between a dollar value of $25,000 and $2.5 million. That's quite a difference. And so they're looking for paperwork to justify these little pet projects by diplomats on assignment overseas. And typically, it is overseas, and not just in the United States. And wouldn't you know, the filing cabinet was empty. I wonder why, Rob.
Isn't that something? Yeah, let's go through some of what has been uncovered in recent years. Theft and fraud happening at our embassies all over the world. For example, you have this $145,000 expense at the Canadian Embassy in Addis Ababa. Okay. What was that for? $145,000. What were they spending that on? And what did they say they were spending it on?
This is, if you did this in Canada, the sheriff would be appearing in your office. This is what they did. They wanted a party palace in the embassy compound. They wanted a party pavilion where they could have cocktail parties and, I don't know, get out of the hot sun. Who knows? But it's going to cost $145,000. And we know from the paperwork the auditors uncovered that they knew that Ottawa headquarters was going to say, forget it, get back to work. So they really wanted that party pavilion. What'd they do? They buried the $145,000 in their budget, marked it as maintenance and repairs, and then when they were called on it, they started to fabricate invoices and marked as maintenance, and I mean make-up invoices. This is a breach of an Act of Parliament, let alone the Criminal Code. The Act of Parliament is called Financial Administration Act. That's an old Harper bill passed 20 years ago. It says, essentially, you can't cheat the taxpayers. You must be honest. Fooled them again in Addis Ababa. It was unbelievable, Rob.
Yeah. The embassy in Bogota had a payment for 6 appliances delivered to a private address. No evidence could be located. No evidence could be provided to locate these appliances. Okay, somebody got some brand new stainless steel appliances somewhere in Bogota, expense to the taxpayers of Canada. And there was a fraud ring, an outright fraud ring at our embassy in Haiti. At least, people were fired over that one. But $1.7 million gone missing.
Rigging, absolutely. Misuse of diplomatic mails, 13 employees fired. This has been going on for years. And I have to be candid. The fact that the Department of Foreign Affairs is still having to audit this is not a good sign. They're not getting on it. And successive foreign affairs ministers have been uninterested in this while they posed before the teleprompter. This is real bread and butter. Like, this is serious money. In Addis Ababa, the party palace, my favorite was $18,000 worth of fuel that was stolen. $12,000 vanished through a mystery fuel card. Thousands of dollars vanished from the cash accounts. This was an ATM for local hustlers. That's your money.
Let's move along. The government at one time, it was being lobbied heavily and was quite hot on basically electrifying the country's entire school bus fleet. Tell us more about that.
They had a meeting we see through access to information at the Department of Industry with a lobby group called the Green Budget Coalition. They're pretty active at budget time. This is not ancient history. It just happened last October in anticipation of the 2026 budget, which is still pending. And the lobbyists talked to the deputy minister about some sort of rebate scheme to electrify the school buses. And they figured it cost about $1 billion for starters. That's not to replace the buses. That's just for rebates to encourage school boards to replace their buses.
To buy the buses.
Yeah, exactly. Never mind the upfront cost. What's the school bus fleet nationwide? 65,000 school buses, according to the Department of Transportation. Rob, this was the heyday of the climate changers. Of course, Carney subsequently killed the auto mandate on electric cars, but can you imagine electrifying a 65,000 fleet? That's one of the largest fleets in the country that would be billions and billions on ratepayers.
Oh, yes. Plus, the company at the center of us, Lion Electric, both the Quebec government and the federal government was very hot on that. We're talking tens of millions of dollars was poured into Lion Electric. This is the next big thing, electric school buses. Well, until two of them caught on fire and the Ministry of Education in Quebec took the entire fleet out of service, the Quebec government lost about $140 million of its investment into Lion Electric. Federal government lost about $50 million. So, almost $200 million. And the company went belly up. And now it's under investigation in both Canada and the United States for potential securities violations, basically lying to investors. That's the state of the electric school bus business these days.
And that was the Vulcan mind meld of climate change in its heyday. I'll tell you how tight-fisted the Department of Transport was when it got to school buses. There had been recommendations for years, and due to some rare but not unprecedented fatalities, including some accidents in Alberta, in which children died. And there was always a proposal to install harness seatbelts. And the Department of Transport said for years, no, it would cost too much. But someone walked in on a shiny suit and said climate change, and all of a sudden the Treasury was going to spring open, honestly.
All right. When we come back, Tom Korski is going to stick around. Nutrition North. Food is very expensive in Northern Canada, of course. The government has a program called Nutrition North to help offset some of those costs. But where's the money going? We'll ask Tom Korski when we return. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Tom Korski here from Blacklock's Reporters with us every Friday. I think most Canadians are aware, Tom, food is very expensive in the north, in northern Canada, like exorbitant. So the government runs a program to try and bring the cost of food down, make it more affordable for northerners. It's a $200 million program called, what is it called again? Nutrition North. Nutrition North.
Right.
Yes. Where's the money going? $200 million.
Well, it goes directly to the grocers, and then the idea is they're supposed to lower the prices for the checkout. Problem, though this program has literally operated for 16 years, the department that runs it and funds it, Crown Indigenous Relations, can find no evidence that actually that the subsidy is paid through, right, to the checkout to the consumer. You'd think that would be really essential. But here we are, 15 years in, and they ask, is the subsidy being fully passed on to consumers? They don't know. Rob, this problem has been around for years. There used to be an old mail subsidy program that the Conservatives got rid of back in 2011 because it was a preferential rate to deliver food by air, which is the only way you're accessible to many of these remote hamlets. And they found that there was some abuse and people were shipping, snowmobile parts and calling it the food mail program, so they put a stop to it. So they came up with this direct subsidy, 125 villages and hamlets. But after all this is in, they say that they detect some cynicism by local residents who say, I'm not seeing the subsidy when I go to pay, $8 for a liter of milk. Where's the subsidy? They are now looking, this has to be the third or fourth review of this very, very expensive program.
Okay. We're just a little tight on time. So I did some internet sleuthing today. Just thinking, how many people in Ottawa do you think work in housing for the federal government? So the estimate is you have, like in the department itself, probably 700 or so. But then you have Canada Mortgage and Housing. They have way more employees actually than the Department of Housing. They have about like 2,300 employees. So let's say it's 3,000 people. Okay, 3,000 people are working one way or another in housing. They come up with a briefing note for the minister. And honest to goodness, this is what it says for the minister. Okay, I'm not making this up. The Department of Housing said it found affordability of housing was no problem for homeowners who bought property 25 years ago. And I was like, well, duh. Thanks for that, Captain Obvious. I mean, what? This is the busy work? This is the busy work, Tom, at the Department of Housing?
True. They found a housing shortage is only a problem for people who don't have a house. In other words, unemployment is not really a problem if you have a job. So long, suckers. Exactly. It was really something.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Thank you, Tom. We'll speak next week, my friend. Bye-bye. Yeah, Tom Korski. Minding Ottawa's business. Aren't you glad somebody is? Talkback is coming up next. Friday, free-for-all Talkback. Phone lines are open right now if you want to call and start the conversation for us. 1-833-668-2577. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
and have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today it's the Friday free-for-all. We preferred if you take the lead on the Friday free-for-all. Pick a topic. We have some topics ready to go, but we always want to know what's on your mind on Fridays. So, everyone, what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about today? If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, there's always news. There was lots of news this week. If you want to talk about something you think should be in the news, feel free to raise it here. Whatever it happens to be, it could be serious, it could be not so serious. We have a phone line for you, and they're all open right now. Every single one of them is free, and we'd love to hear from you. 1-833-668-2577. That's 1-833-668-2577. And if you've never called before, if you're a first-time caller, we love to hear from first-time callers. We will make your call a priority. We'll bump you up the line. Again, 1-833-668-2577. I'm always up for talking about politics. I'm kind of a political junkie. I can't get enough of this stuff. And it has certainly been a big week in Canadian politics. Next week could be even bigger. But let me ask you this. I mean, think about the week that Pierre Poilievre has had, okay? Down in the polls, loses another MP, tries to do an announcement about property rights. All the media wants to know about is floor crosser, floor crosser, floor crosser. Why are you losing so many MPs? Let me ask you, just from a political point of view, what's wrong with Pierre Poilievre? Canadians have kind of soured on Pierre Poilievre. What's wrong with Pierre Poilievre? I was looking at some polls today. I mean, if you're a right of center Canadian, I mean, you won't be happy with these polls. You have Nanos, Liberals 46, Conservatives 31. Leger, Liberals 48, Conservatives at 34. Liaison, Liberals 44, Conservatives 33. Abacus, Liberals 44, Conservatives 37. Angus Reid, Liberals 44, Conservatives 36. Ecos, Liberals 48, Conservatives at 27. So, look, whatever poll you look at, the Liberals are in the lead. All right? It's a big lead. Liberals, mid to high 40s. Conservatives, you take out the Ecos poll, mid to low 30s. So if the Conservatives are in the low 30s, I mean, that means it's basically a complete round trip for that party. That means in the last year and a half, the Conservatives gone to being the party that was polling in the mid-40s during the dying days of the Trudeau years, down to what I would call the base. They are back to the Conservative base. Now, they're back to that 30% plus a little bit more of the Canadian voting population that is Conservative and votes with the Conservatives, always votes Conservative through thick and thin, voting for the blue team. And this round trip has happened with Pierre Poilievre at the wheel. He's gone from packing convention halls all across the country. You remember the days sticking around, signing autographs, getting pictures taken with supporters for hours on end. He's gone from that to having to answer questions about whether he should even be the leader of the Conservative Party anymore. And he keeps losing MPs, right? He's lost 4 MPs to the Liberals. And the latest, Marilyn Gladu, is not even a Liberal. She's never been a Liberal. She only has a history of calling out the Liberals. She doesn't have a Liberal bone in her body. But even she decided to bolt to the Liberals. She's never been a Liberal, but she'd rather be part of the Liberals now than be part of the Conservatives under Poilievre anymore. And, you know, the rumors are still running rampant that she might not be the last one to join Team Carney and, leave Pierre Poilievre behind. See you later, dude. So what happened? I mean, what happened to the idea of Pierre Poilievre becoming the next Prime Minister of Canada? Why are Prime Minister Carney and the Liberal Party way up in the polls? Why are Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives way down in the polls? And would it be any different, say, if the Conservative Party had a new leader? Does the Conservative Party need a new leader? Do you think the Conservative Party would be doing any better than it is right now if somebody else was the leader other than Pierre Poilievre? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577, just tossing it out there. On the floor crossing business, I mean, where do you stand on that? I don't like to see it, but I'm kind of agnostic to it myself. I do find it distasteful, but I've been around long enough. I've seen both parties do it on multiple occasions, so I can't fling mud at one or the other because they both do it. You know, I was around when Scott Bryson left the Conservatives, joined the Liberals. David Emerson left the Liberals, joined the Conservatives. Belinda Stronach left the Conservatives, joined the Liberals. Leon Alce left the Liberals, joined the Conservatives. So it's not like either party is lily white when it comes to, luring people across the floor with various enticements. Now, I've never seen it happen in these numbers. I mean, 5 in less than a year. That's a new one for me. And I do find it maddening to hear someone like Marilyn Gladu, who is not a Liberal and has never been a Liberal and has never had anything good to say about the Liberals in the 10 years she's been a Conservative MP. I mean, it's maddening to hear her disown all her political beliefs like she's playing everyone for fools. But let me ask you this. Do you think the law needs to be changed to prevent this sort of thing from happening? Floor crossing. Would you support a new law or an amendment to the existing law that would say something like, if an MP crosses the floor, it triggers an automatic by-election? Or the MP can't cross the floor, they have to sit it as an independent until the next election? Because that would, for all intents and purposes, it would curtail this sort of thing from happening, if not eliminate it altogether. What do you think? That's not the law right now. It's entirely legitimate as the law stands right now to cross the floor, leave this party, go join that party, even though the voters put you in while you're running under the banner of this party. So does that mean the law needs to change? Do you think the law needs to change to prevent floor crossing? Yes or no? 1-833-668-2577. Comment on either of those topics or pick one of your own. And we'll give you a full airing. I'm Rob Snow. It's the Friday free-for-all Talkback. So let's get it going with some phone calls here. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We begin the Friday free-for-all Talkback in Strathmore, Alberta, with first-time caller Bill, who is on the line. Hello, Bill.
Hi. How are you
Bill.
today?
Well, Bill, you know what? It's the 10th day of April, and it's snowing here, Bill. So, I'm kind of done with that. Despite my last name, by April 10th, I don't want to see any more snow. So it kind of has me down, but I'm glad it's Friday. And if you could send, your weather this way, I would be most appreciative.
Yeah, well, in Alberta, it's known as we've gone from -10 and we're going to hit in +15, and that's within 4 days. So it's unusual here.
Very good.
Well,
so what's on your mind today, Bill?
I'd like to comment on,
Sure thing.
One keeps raising its little head. To begin with, I'm over 65. I'm older. And I'm looking back at my role in Canada and Alberta. And they have basically taken away my rights. My rights should end where my nose ends, and I shouldn't be able to invade your rights where your nose begins. And I'd like to point out that I'm not intellectually challenged. I'm not stupid. I'm not emotionally, etc., and all those other things.
Sure thing.
But in the last 6 years, our wonderful healthcare system, which we're having problems with because it's in debt and we have problems with it. In the last 6-7 years, Alberta has spent probably in excess of $500,000 on testings for me. And I look at this and I say, I've had a good life. I've achieved the things I want. I'm of sound mind, okay? And I'm done.
What do you mean you're done?
I'm just done. It says at least 25 times in the last year. And I'm tired of life. And I did not have the right, and I was into my last one within the last week, and there was 8 of us in there, and that they were talking about things, and they were all over 65, and one of the topics that came up was, why can't we end our lives? And so in that, I joined in, and I said, well, the doctor basically came out today, right here, he's here today, and said, there's a $2 for a pill, and I can give you that instead, and you'll just go to sleep. How many of you would take this? And out of the 8, 2 were undecided, 3, and myself, that would make 4 out of 8, said, I'll take the $2 pill, thank you very much.
Well, it's very disheartening to hear.
It isn't. I've had a good life, but I'm tired. And all of the medical things that they have could have been used on other people who are they want to live. I've achieved my goals.
Right.
My kids are raised, they're stable, et cetera, My life is in order, my finances are in order.
I understand
don't want to go any further.
So
why can't I?
So you would be then critical, obviously, of the reforms that are proposed by your government there, that MAID would be limited to somebody who has a terminal illness and is going to die within 12 months. You think that's wrong?
I think that's absurd. It's made up by some technocrat up there that has never gone through this in their a lot of our people, like some of our people are in 80 and they're in old folks' homes, and nothing wrong with old folks' homes, okay? And they're happy there. And they need medical attention. By all means, give it to them. I don't want it. I've had enough pain in my life in the last 10 years to last me forever. All their medical things, they go around in circles. We have wonderful instruments and wonderful doctors, and they look at me and say, gee, we'd like to have you come back in 6 months because we just don't understand and we don't know. So we'll give you some more tests. And I'm looking at this and said, what's the definition of stupidity? It's basically asking the same question where nothing's changed, okay, and you expect a different answer. Okay, so I have a severe pain. I have paralysis. I fall over. I have no balance. I have to, and the medical system, like they do.
You feel you have no quality of life. You feel you have no quality of life. And because you have no quality of life, you feel that you should have every right to end your own life.
Absolutely. As long as I'm of a reasonable sound mind and body, which I am, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I'm done. I've had a good life.
All right. Look, I'm going to have to wrap up our conversation. It's a pretty heavy-duty way to start the Friday free-for-all, but I appreciate your point of view. It's not the last time we'll be talking about that topic for sure. All the best to you, Bill. Thank you. We do have to stop. Just hang on, folks. Be patient. I wanted to hear that man out. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Another first-time caller on the Friday Free-for-All Talkback is Dave in Calgary. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Rob. Your show is great. Keep it going.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you, Dave.
And hey, well, you know what? You do a great job. Keep it going. I agree with the last caller, and I agree with the four floor walkers should be, they've disappointed the people they've been voted in by. They should be accountable to them. But my topic that I wanted to call you about is first-time call. Transfer payments, and more so about Hydro-Quebec and all the money that they generate, that it's not included in the economy, in the transfer issue. And I thought, I'll phone Rob. He'll know. What's that all about, and how come they don't?
This got me into trouble last week with a normally friendly caller, Abe from Champion, Alberta, who really took me to task and said I was full of BS for saying this. And I actually checked and double checked, and I am accurate in this because Hydro-Quebec is a crown corporation. It is not. The revenue that it is bringing in is not accounted the same way as the oil and gas revenue that is coming into Alberta. The only thing that is really accounted for is the dividend that it gives to the government of Quebec every year. And as well, Hydro-Quebec is not selling electricity to Quebecers at market rates. We get discounted rates on our hydroelectricity. We have the lowest electricity rates in the entire country in the province of Quebec. Unlike oil and gas revenue, which is captured at the ultimate market price, right? The global market price, whatever oil and gas is trading for on the commodities markets. I have double-checked this. I have triple-checked this. I read an academic paper that was done by the former Deputy Minister of Finance in charge of equalization, who confirms this. This is the way it is, and Brad Wall, the Premier of Saskatchewan, has said as much as well in years past. So yes, that's true.
Well,
you understand?
You know what? Yeah, and you wonder why Alberta wants to separate. But anyway, that is not fair. You can say that they're getting subsidized. They should have to contribute that subsidy as part of their transfer payment. Anyway, you've answered my question. Great job. I appreciate it, and keep doing it. Have a great weekend.
Well, thank you, Dave. You too, Dave. Thank you. Let's fit Charlie in here, another first-time caller. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, good, okay? Charlie. Yeah, hear you just fine, Charlie. What's on your mind?
Hey, right on. Hey, you know what? My heart goes out to Bill. I was calling about something, and I just got to say, I hope everyone's checking in on their neighbors. It breaks my heart that there's folks out there feeling like that.
Yeah, that's well said.
But you mentioned Pierre. You were fishing a little bit, and I'm going to bite. So
okay.
I got a couple thoughts on it. I'll just throw it your way. So number one, so I'm 45. I just turned 45. Let you know the demographic there.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I work with a ton of people, 20 and up. We work in different industrial type situations, you name it. The people that I know, the people that I talk to, I don't believe I'm in an echo chamber. The general sense that I get is that we believe in ourselves. We're happy to do this ourselves. We don't need the government building us houses. We don't need the government funding. All these different ways to like, the government could really help by just actually
getting out of the way.
Opening up
getting out of the way.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, sorry, the music is starting. Sorry if I gotta get off.
Yeah, you hang on. No, you hang on. I'll bring you back on right after the news, Charlie. You're a first-time caller. You're patient enough. If you wait a few more minutes, I'll bring you right back on. You can finish your thought. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right, let's spend a couple of more minutes with Charlie here. First-time caller wants to talk a little politics today. So you want the government out of your business, Charlie? You and your buds.
No, so thanks. No, so kind of where I was getting to is I like to think that politically I call it down the middle. Okay, like in university we voted NDP because they said we were going to get free university, and we voted Liberals before because we believe in social programs, strong social programs. This time I did vote Conservative. I agreed with that platform, like actually caring about our own country. So I like to think I call it down the middle. No, we shouldn't be the 51st state. No, I don't think we should be the European Union. I think there's something special that we have here in Canada that's worth fighting for. But what I would say is this: when there's as far as Polyev goes, if you look at every single demographic of the voters from the last election, the only demographic that the Liberals beat the Conservatives was 65 plus. So they know they've got that locked down, and they've got a great life. Their houses are paid for. We're happy for them. It's our parents and grandparents. We love them dearly. We just want to have the same shot, and that's what I thought we were going to get on the Conservative side. The thing that I don't understand about all of this, and I'm not saying I'm not like a fake news type or anything like that. If Pierre is so bad at his job, or if he's such a threat, or pardon me, if he's so bad at his job, I thought that would be a benefit to the Liberals. Why would the talk not be, oh yeah, no, this is great, keep him around. He's so awful at his job. I constantly see these stories about Pierre's awful at his job. He's awful at his job. He's not leading his caucus, etc. And it's never like there's so much focus on what the opposition is doing, in my mind, than what the government's actually doing. And I hear a soundbite from Carney, and then I see four panelists completely consumed about the opposition.
And the drama. Yeah, this is a classic complaint, especially from right of center voters. I mean, it's the Liberals who have been running the show here for the better part of 11 years. Why is everything about Polyev? Why is everything about the opposition? Polyev is not running the government. Polyev has not been, Polyev has not been leading a government that has resulted in the outcomes that we see today with the economy, especially for young people.
Agree. And I guess I'm saying, I know there's got to be some political theater there. I get it, and it's ad revenue, whatever else. But when I've seen what's happened from the time I was 33 to 45. I've watched the difference even in my own life, and the fact that we have a government in power that, yes, they call themselves a new government, and that's all fine. They have to say these slogans, but I just don't see any accountability. As soon as there's something going wrong, it's because of the tariffs, or something's going wrong over here. Oh, it's because of this war. There's never accountability. I really believed in the Conservative message, and there's still incredibly strong support for Polyev. And the only time I would start getting concerned is if there was an actual poll done that took into account demographics. If they were losing support under 65, I would be shocked. But anyways, thanks for letting me call in just my 2 cents.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for sharing your perspective there. Brian, up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Hi, Brian.
Good day, Rob. Listen, at present there are no laws in Parliament to stop floor crossing, but
that's right.
The affected constituents who supported the 4 Conservative floor crossers in being elected in the first place, I believe, should receive monetary damages and compensations from these floor crossers. And a civil court of law would be a good place to do this. This avenue of recourse should be investigated by the affected constituents as soon as possible.
So what kind of compensation would you be seeking?
Well, you can bet that the people that in those ridings put up a lot of money, as well as businesses probably put up thousands and thousands of dollars to get these people elected as conservatives. And I think they're deserving of compensation, maybe a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, class action civil lawsuit against these floor crossers would be in order.
Okay, it's an interesting idea. You know, what I'm asking is, and you're right. There's no consequence for crossing the floor right now. If anything, there might be a bonus in it. Maybe you're made a cabinet minister, you get $100,000 raise and a driver and some prestige. But what I'm asking is, would you support a law or an amendment to the existing law that would say something like, if an MP crosses the floor, it's a by-election? That would curtail it. Right. Or if an MP wants to cross the floor or leave the party that elected them, they consider it as an independent MP until the next election, because that would eliminate this business altogether. Would you support something like that, sir?
Absolutely, Rob. That's why I called in today.
Well, thank you, Brian, for your call. I appreciate your call. Let's take another one from Red Deer today. Rick. Hello, Rick.
Hello. How are you doing?
Very good, Rick. How are you?
Good. I would say the problem isn't Pierre Poilievre. It's just these people who are crossing the floor are not leaving because they've had an epiphany and decided their whole life they've been conservative and now they're going to be liberal. I'd love someone to do an audit on these people and see if there's some financial benefit that's been happening with these people crossing the floor. They're not principled people. This is like, hi, I'm going to cheat on my wife because, I decided this girl's cuter. This is unprincipled people that are crossing the floor, in my opinion.
Okay, so again, I would ask you the same question that I asked the previous caller. Do you think the law needs to be changed?
Oh, for sure. I think that if you run under a banner, half the people who vote probably don't even know who their MP.
No, I think he's dropped out, right? Yeah, he's dropped out. Okay, well, that's okay. I hear where he's coming from. Look, there could be incentives, I'm saying. As I said, a cabinet minister makes $100,000 more than an opposition MP, right? So let's say, Mark Carney does a cabinet shuffle. Marilyn Gladu is, I don't know, whatever. She's made a cabinet minister of some sort. She would get a $100,000 raise, a $100,000 raise she wouldn't get on the conservative side of the benches. Right now, there's nothing untoward about that. She says she's doing it in the best interest of her constituents. Maybe being on the government side means, more money is going to her Sarnia, Ontario riding because she's a better advocate for Sarnia on being on the government side of the benches. Again, nothing untoward about that. What I want to know is, does the law need to be changed? It's not against the law right now. There's no consequence to it whatsoever. They're still getting their paychecks, still qualifying for their gold-plated pension plans, and the 53% of conservative voters in Sarnia now have a Liberal MP. So should there be consequences for that? What do you think? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And Peter's up next on the Friday Free For All Talkback. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Hi, Peter. What's on your mind? My pleasure.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, the law should be changed, but I have a question. Who's going to do it? Who's going to put that law into place?
Yeah, isn't that it?
I mean, even though we want it and we think it should be in place, who would actually put the legislation forward? And that's a problem. But I don't think the problem is Pierre Poilievre. I think the problem is the floor crossers. And one of your earlier callers alluded to that, and I was sitting here agreeing with him listening on the radio. The floor crossers are opportunistic, but so is Mark Carney. His term as prime minister, he's going to be much wealthier at the other end when it's all over. He's not necessarily looking at Canada as Canada's best interest.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that? What gives you that impression?
Well, blind trust is not necessarily blind. He knows what's in there. He just sold a bunch of uranium. Your fact checkers could check up on what I'm saying here, but he sold a bunch of Saskatchewan uranium to India, and Westinghouse is contracted to building small nuclear reactors with help from India. And Mark Carney's company owns Westinghouse.
Well, again, it's not Mark Carney's company. He was the former. He was the former chair of the board, right?
He's still involved at arm's length, and it'll all come back to him after his term.
Well, I don't know how you say that. When he's the Prime Minister of Canada, he's not going to board meetings for Brookfield. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
He's not involved. He's not involved in the day-to-day operations of that company.
That's right. Not the day-to-day. Absolutely, he's not. But he knows what's in that portfolio.
Right. So you think that he is making decisions that are not in the best interest of Canada, but rather in the best interest of what? Boosting shares of Brookfield?
Well, there's a small,
because that's a pretty damning that's a pretty damning accusation about the character of the Prime Minister. With all due respect, that he would,
if it's true,
he would run the country to line his own pockets, and instead of what is in the best interest of the country. Pretty damning allegation to be made. With very little evidence, sir. With very little evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll fact checkers. Yeah. How many people do you think work on this show, sir? It's not the CBC, for crying out loud. Let's go to Dave in Halifax. Hi, Dave.
Yes. Hi, Rob. If you don't mind, I think it was the Orange Boogeyman that got Carney in, to be honest with you, because I think we were very upset as Canadians.
Yes.
When he was, the 51st state and what have you, and that just changed the complete election.
I understand that, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Dave. Okay, but that was more than a year ago, and if anything, he's even more popular today.
Well, yeah, because I think if you were listening to Charlie, and I think he was a very well-spoken, I'm going to call him young, man, when you had all the boomers that got scared and spooked, and decided to go with this fairly well-spoken, Mark Carney, came out of nowhere, if you think of it, and they, decided to put their votes towards the Liberals, and so here we are. Now, can I get to the floor crossing? Liberals play the political game beautiful. They really do, and they have for decades. And here we are. So I think my worry is with the floor crossings, Carney is very close. He'll have a majority within the end of this month, and he's got the by-election.
He'll have a majority by Monday night, sir. Next Monday night.
Right. He's at the 1 yard line with compliments of these floor crossers. So this is very pivotal. Look, I voted for Poilievre. I'm a conservative. I've been NDP. I've been Liberal. I was even with Greenpeace when I was young, with the long hair and the bell-bottom pants, for God's sakes. And I've come a long way. I tell my kids, and the reason I voted Conservatives was for the younger people. I've got 3 sons that are in the housing now and bought homes, unfortunately after COVID. So can imagine what housing's cost. And I just thought, I look at some stats here, Rob. I look at the GDP. We're at the bottom of the G7. We used to be up in the 3rd or 2nd even. United States is flourishing at the top of the GDP. We are at the bottom of the food inflation when it comes to the G7 and the GDP, or in the G7. We're at the bottom. I mean, folks, come on. I think people in some ways are stupid and stubborn, and this is where we're at. And Carney plays the game very well. I admire him in some ways, and he is a little bit more to center. I'll give him that as well. But, folks, this is where we're at. And the floor crossings, I think it should be changed. This is not sour grapes. this is we should all be concerned as Canadians, Rob. This is this is unprecedented. Anyways, I'll leave you at that, Rob.
Well, as Tom Korski reported for us, first time since the conscription crisis of the First World War that it's happened, that there would be this volume of floor crossers in such a short period of time. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go to Bruce County, Ontario. Adam is there. Hello, Adam. Thanks for calling, Adam.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. I wanted to talk about the floor crossing, and I agree with most of your other callers that shouldn't be allowed. I mean, if anybody says that they vote for an MPP solely based on that MPP and not for the party that they're with is complete liar. I mean, nobody does that. So, and the one thing that is interesting about the latest crosser, Gladue, the fact that we all know that she's still a little bit upset about the fact that the Conservatives disqualified her from running for the leadership because she couldn't come up with the
money. The $300,000. Yeah, she had to raise $300,000. She asked for an extension. She didn't raise the money, so they said you can't run. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the 3,000 signatures she couldn't come up with either. But so there might be something. She might have done this in spite. We don't obviously know, but floor crossing should immediately trigger a by-election, in my opinion.
All right, good take there, Adam. Good, we could get you on to Kincardine now. Mike is there. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Rob. You're going to be surprised at this one, but I don't want the law changed.
You don't? Okay.
The reason I don't want the law changed is because it's a safeguard of democracy. Suppose you get an out-of-control leader or an out-of-control politician, and it allows MPPs to cross to another party to vote that party out of office. Now, I'm a Conservative Party member, both provincially and federally, for 30 years.
Right.
And I can tell you I did not vote for Pierre Poilievre in the last election for various reasons. I am a red Tory. I am a progressive Conservative. And I believe Mr. Poilievre needs to do a lot better job at widening his tent because he's driven his party too far to the right. And the people like me who are progressive Conservatives don't feel at home in that party.
I'm wondering, what is not progressive about Pierre Poilievre?
The wedge issues. He's always going on wedge issues, right? He's not going on...
well, I would say the Liberals are pretty good at that as well.
Yes, they are.
Whether it's, gun issues, abortion issues.
I feel more comfortable with the center-right party and not one that's too far to the left. To the right, I'm sorry.
To the right. Okay, you think it's too far to the right. I would ask you, though, look within yourself, as the Prime Minister would say. Okay? Is Pierre Poilievre anti-immigrant? Is he anti-gay? Is he anti-abortion? He has said he's pro-choice. So, where is this far right that people keep talking about?
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
and have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of the Friday Free-for-All Talkback. Let me just throw one more in the mix, okay? Now, usually in this hour of the program, and this is the last hour for the week, usually we get a lot of, most of the calls, 90% of the calls will come from our station in Calgary. The Halifax station doesn't carry this hour of the program because it's already 3 o'clock in Halifax, so they're into their afternoon drive coverage in Halifax. This is a Calgary-specific issue. This issue of vehicle pedestrian collisions that you're dealing with in Calgary. I want to get a better idea of why this is the case. There has been a major increase in the number of vehicle-pedestrian collisions in Calgary over the last year or so, and even just recently. Like, what is going on? Why do you think that is? I believe, from what I have been able to compile so far today, I may be a little off, and if I am, I apologize. But from what I understand, so far this year, 4 pedestrians have been killed this year so far in Calgary after being struck by vehicles. Just this week, there were 4 non-fatal pedestrian vehicle collisions in a span of 12 hours. 4 in 12 hours. For all of last year, 15 fatalities involving pedestrians. Most in 10 years. Way, way up from where it used to be. Usually in the mid-single digits for a given year. Last year, 15. So it's not normal. What's happening? What's happening? Do you think, dear Calgary listeners on 660, what's happening? Is it because speed limits are too high? Is it distracted driving? Is it distracted walking, jaywalking, people staring at phones, ignoring traffic signals, not paying attention, not making eye contact with drivers? What is it, in your opinion? What are you seeing out there? Some people are blaming it on the Alberta government's reforms to photo radar. You remember the Smith government dramatically curtailed the use of photo radar. They did the same thing in Ontario. Could that have anything to do with it? Now, I asked AI, okay, so take it for what it's worth. It's AI, okay? Because I don't drive in Calgary traffic. I don't live in Calgary. But I'm very curious about this story. I asked AI, this is the exact question I asked AI. What Calgary roads are known to be the most dangerous for pedestrians? This is what AI spit out, okay? Maybe it's AI slop. Maybe it's right on the money. You tell me. McLeod Trail. Does this sound familiar, Curtis? You can jump on the air here, Curtis. Okay. McLeod Trail, Stony Trail, especially in the northeast segments, Deerfoot Trail, flagged as a high-risk zone, Pagan Trail, southeast. And 16th at, sorry, Curtis?
Yeah, if you're walking on Stony or Deerfoot, you got some issues. That's a highway.
You have some issues. Okay. Yeah. It's a highway. Yeah. Okay.
I think I got that wrong. But McLeod's absolutely right. I live on McLeod. I can tell you, I nearly got hit twice walking home, like, monthly. So, yeah.
All right. So those are basically freeways. This is one of the things I wanted to know. People shouldn't be walking on there anyway. 16 Avenue North, and then it says in brackets Trans-Canada Highway. So are people walking on the Trans-Canada Highway? But it also spit this out. City collision heat maps from 2018 to 2022 show the highest concentration of pedestrian collisions in the downtown grid, where turning vehicles and heavy foot traffic intersect. Does that sound right to you, Curtis?
Yep.
Sound right to you?
Yep.
Downtown?
16th Avenue
okay.
is, it's more of a main road here. It's not a highway, so.
Okay. All right. So what is it? All right. Okay. You know, is it pedestrians being on roads they shouldn't be on? Speed limits are too high. Road construction. Does road construction have something to do with it? Should there be more police out there with, radar guns, getting tough on drivers breaking the rules or pedestrians breaking the rules and jaywalking? We have taken calls on this over the last few weeks, unsolicited, from concerned Calgary residents who are alarmed that this is happening in that city. And yet it seems to be it keeps happening with increasing frequency. So what's the problem? What's the problem? Why are so many pedestrians being hit by vehicles in Calgary? I'm just tossing it out there. Eddie is a first-time caller in Calgary today. And thank you for calling, Eddie. You can comment on that or any other topic that you want to bring up. Eddie, go ahead.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm good,
I love your show.
Thank you.
I love your show.
Appreciate that.
And I listen almost every day. So I just wanted to comment first on something I keep hearing about boomers, that the boomers love the Liberals. We don't. At least
a lot of them do.
No boomers that I know love the Liberals. But that's just my point I wanted to bring across on that. And while I was waiting, I heard you talk about the pedestrian accidents. I told my wife back in 2017 when they dimmed all the streetlights in the city out. That was a terrible mistake. There, you go down residential streets downtown, the lights are dimmed down since they went to LED. And
all right.
You take winter when you have less sunlight, you have dirty headlights, you have older drivers. You put that all together. I told her we're going to have fatalities, and she just told me the other day, you should call in because you were so right. Look how many people are getting killed on the streets today, and whether it's the streetlights or not, there is a correlation.
That's interesting.
I believe.
That's interesting. That's very interesting that you bring that up. I did not know that was happening. All right, Eddie. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for your call. That's a very interesting contribution. Maybe something to that. What do you think? Why are there so many pedestrians being hit by vehicles in Calgary? What do you think is going on there? Or any other topic? We can talk politics. We can talk sports. We can talk whatever you want to talk about. Because it's Friday free for all. That's how we roll into the weekend around here. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right, let's get to Barb. He's a first-time caller on Talkback. Welcome to the show, Barb.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Barb. Yeah, I hear you just fine, Barb.
Okay, good. I'm driving here. Hands-free. I'm safe. We're talking about the pedestrians. I live in Calgary. This has been an ongoing issue. And pedestrians cannot come up against the car coming at them full speed. So, yeah, Calgary drivers, I find, at least over the last few years, are getting sloppy, messy, inattentive, on phones, the whole works. At the same time, since you started this conversation several weeks ago, I have been watching pedestrians at intersections. And I would guess that about 80% of them are on a cell phone. And the light turns, they're on their phone, they step out, they're texting. One day, I was in a school zone, and a little girl was texting on the phone in the crosswalk. And I actually rolled down my window, and I said, hey, you are in an intersection on the road. Don't look at your phone. And she looked at me in surprise, and like, who are you, right? But
who are you? Who's that crazy lady yelling me?
And I swear that maybe the solution would be that if police officers are out there and they see people crossing the road on a phone, maybe we need to ticket. We ticket people for being inattentive and on a cell phone on the road.
Yes.
Maybe we should be ticketing people when they're on the road on a cell phone in a crosswalk.
Distracted walking? We should have a bylaw or something about distracted walking?
Well, remember when we used to get ticketed way back when for jaywalking?
For jaywalking, sure.
When I was,
yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe, okay. All right.
Inattentiveness on both parts, right? I think something needs to be done, and people need to be more aware, and ever since the cell phone. A lot of the ones in Calgary, I mean, there were people that were being hit that should not have been hit. They weren't on cell phones. But I think everybody needs to play a part in that when they're crossing a road. That's my 2 bits.
Well, I'm glad you contributed today, Barb. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Drive safe. Emerson up next. Hi, Emerson.
Thank you so much. It's always nice to end the week talking to you and Chris. Very nice people. I just wanted to say,
thank you.
I have lost so much confidence in the political system. I mean, when you vote for somebody and they put a platform forward and they say, this is what I'm going to advocate for, this is what I believe in. And Marilyn Gladwell, for years and years and years, saying all these things, she ran for the leadership. And then she decides, you know what, I can do better. I could probably get a cabinet position. I'll go liberal. But you know what? Here's the way I look at it. If you're not happy after you've been elected in a party, you should just quit and then run again in a by-election. You don't have the right to take my vote and cross the floor just because you got a better deal. And I'm sorry, if everyone tells me there wasn't a carrot waved in front of her face, they're dreaming. Because you know what? Look at her last night. She was dancing on the stage, her and Carney. I mean, they thought they were on a Carnival cruise. It was disgusting. I will never, ever, ever care about these people crossing the floor. And I'm with Poilievre. You know what? You stabbed your own people in the back. You stabbed your own people in the back because they voted for it. And her constituents said the same thing. Most of the people they interviewed, they all said the same thing. We're not happy with what she did, but who knows what her long-time goal is. Maybe she's not going to run again anyway, so she doesn't really care what her constituents think. She's going for, the bottom line is, hey, obviously something is promised to her. But I don't care because we're going to end up in a majority position. There ain't going to be an election for another 3 years. And that'll give the Conservatives a chance to regroup, come back to the table, and hopefully over the next 3 years, Carney has made a significant amount of mistakes that people will wake up and say, we need to give the Conservatives a chance here. Because Carney basically came in at a time where Trump said, I'm going to take over Canada, and that's all Carney won on. He won on that issue alone, elbows up, blah, 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 and people fell for it. So I just want to say, Rob, thanks for letting me speak up. I appreciate you. I appreciate your program. You have a wonderful staff. And by the way, if I could, I'd give Chris a little raise because he deserves it. God bless you.
Okay.
God
All
bless
right.
you.
Okay. Curtis. His name is Curtis. Okay. Yeah, sure. Curtis, you deserve a raise.
I'll take that.
If I had the power to give you one, I would give you one. But fortunately, my friend, I'm not pulling those strings. Marcel in Okotoks. Marcel.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for getting me a chance to speak.
Sure. What's on your mind?
When I did my research for my book, Conservatives Dead or Alive, I found out that Canadians are the worst politically savvy people in the world. Okay. You had a couple of people on your show this morning saying things like, I have voted NDP, I have voted Liberal, but now I'm voting a Conservative. That proves that they have no idea about political ideology. The media has consistently said that a Conservative is far right, and that has gone out, and I've heard people say Poilievre is far right. I'm a progressive Conservative, but I don't vote for Poilievre. The problem is we have a system whereby people have no knowledge about political ideology. Gladue ran for the leadership of a Conservative party, was unsuccessful, and now she is a Liberal dancing around with Carney. The problem we have is some people are supporting this because they think that it is a good thing for her to just jump the ship and become a Liberal because they think that the Liberal Party is going to give them what they want. The problem is in this country, most politicians, as I've seen, are totally not politically, principled. These people who are jumping ship have got no principles at all. They're just jumping for their pockets. Because I guarantee you, it's not only Conservatives. We've had an NDP jumping. Something is being dangled in front of their face and saying, okay, we want a majority and we'll give you that, and we don't need an election. We have serious problems in this country right now, which we are not looking at. We have the worst economy, despite the fact that they are telling us that the economy is good.
Yeah, well, the economy is clearly not good. All you have to do is look at the jobs report today. I mean, basically, the jobs report says there's been no hiring, like whatsoever. I appreciate your point of view. A lot of people think carrots have been dangled in front of these individuals, Marilyn Gladue included. We'll see what comes of it. What I want to get at is, should it be allowed? I mean, it is allowed. It's happened. Both parties have done it. But should it be allowed to continue, or should the law as it's written be amended, or do we need a new law? 1-833-668-2577. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, Mike's up next. Hello, Mike. What's on your mind? Welcome to Talkback.
Hey. All right. Can you hear me?
Hear you just fine, Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm in Calgary too. I have
kids that are in school, and I'm drive a car. I'm a cyclist. I walk, and it's got to be like almost 100% the walkers' fault, because they're walking onto the road. It's not like the cars are going onto the sidewalk. And I've taught my kids from when they're young that do not cross unless you have eye contact, and to stick out your hand to let the driver know which direction you're going. And do they do that? No.
What do they do, Mike? What are you seeing, Mike? What do you see every day?
Oh, it's the phone thing, or like this is what the most dangerous thing I saw, but they all do it, is this one teenager, he just hit the flashing lights to like say that pedestrian's crossing, and immediately started walking, just immediately.
Right.
And I that's the only one that I rolled down the window and said, "Are you crazy? You think a car could just stop immediately?"
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is that who is going at a greater speed or slower speed that can stop quicker? It's the pedestrian.
Of course.
Like a driver can't do, and I think it's the God mentality that we've been told and tell our kids and all that the pedestrian's always right. The pedestrian gets to stop traffic immediately. But it's the phone thing too. Like there's no doubt about that. The whole phone.
Yeah, these somebody brought this up a couple of weeks ago, Mike. Somebody brought this up a couple of weeks ago. We have these in Ottawa. They drive me crazy. Okay, I'm still getting used to these as a motorist. These lights that flash, they're almost like strobe lights, right? To alert you that this is a pedestrian crossing, but it's not at an intersection. It's like it could be in between intersections or whatever.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't even know how wise those are. I really don't know how wise those are.
But yeah, it's the pedestrian fan. They have the slower speed, and they're the ones who cut down the traffic. Yeah. And we get tickets for driving with the cell phone in our car, but they don't get that for crossing the road.
Yeah, interesting point. You're the second person to bring that up. Thank you. Be right back. The latest breaking news is coming up next. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Right back to it on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Sarah up next. First time caller Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hi there, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. You're Sarah. I'm Rob.
Thank you for the introduction. I just wanted to, it was so funny, as I'm on hold, the gentleman before me was nailing the issue I just spoke to, your assistant about, and it's exactly the same thing. I taught my daughter when she's in a crosswalk, do not just cross, wave to them. When they wave back, then you go. I mean, it's just common sense, even though you have the right of way. Metal versus flesh, who's going to win? So what does it matter if you have the right of way if you're not making your own decisions to keep your own safety?
Yeah. So is this what you think is happening?
100%.
The previous caller was of the opinion that most of these collisions are happening not because of anything drivers are doing, but rather it's mostly the pedestrians are at fault. Is that your sense of it?
No. I'm not going to go that far because I believe we all have a due diligence to do, right? However, if you are walking and there are cars facing you, you got to think straight, like who is going to win in this fight if somebody's not paying attention? So I do think the drivers aren't getting any better, but I do feel the pedestrians have a bigger burden to bear because they are the ones that are going to lose that fight.
All right, Sarah. Thank you. Distracted walking seems to be getting most of the blame today. As I said, people staring at phones, jumping traffic signals, just generally not paying attention. I was just wondering if any of these other reasons that have been cited in some of the news reports, speed limits might be too high, the end of photo radar, which was very controversial at the time. Well, not totally the end, but it was certainly dramatically scaled back by the Smith government. And maybe that has given free rein to some drivers. I'm just curious if you think that might be a factor at all in the number of vehicle pedestrian collisions in that city. Dave, up next. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Rob. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dave.
I'll try to make this quick. So, just for the record, I did vote for Mr. Poilievre in the last federal election. Having said that, I think Mr. Carney honestly is proving himself to be the better person, the preferred choice in my mind for Prime Minister at this time. Regarding Mr. Poilievre's position about all the defections, I feel bad for the guy. He's in a very tenuous position. But I'm concerned that he's going to revert back to his never happy, grumpy self now that his campaign manager or director has left as well.
No, his director of communications has left. His director of communications has left. Okay.
Correct.
Voluntarily, by the way, voluntarily. That was her choice. She has explained that it was never going to be a kind of a permanent gig for her and that she wanted to do other things and was happy to do the job while she had the job. And she's actually recommended her replacement.
Fair enough. And thanks for the correction. So the only other thing I would say about Mr. Poilievre is that I think he's been missing the boat by not maybe showing enough of the Conservatives' bench strength, and it doesn't play to his advantage.
I might agree with you there. Yeah.
I think Mr. Carney has played the trump card, pun intended, as well as he can, and he's running out of runway to actually get things done. One of the things I thought was a critique of the Justin Trudeau era was, despite all the nonsense and virtue signaling, that government had trouble with execution. It was terrible. If Mr. Carney can differentiate his government from that, well, then there's some validity to the Liberals. But yeah, I think Mr. Poilievre isn't doing any favors for his own welfare by not focusing more. Like Melissa Lantsman gets a little press time, Mr. Bezin, James Bezin gets a little bit of press time, but he needs to show that he's got more than himself. Last thing, yeah, I think it's time that we need to change legislation about crossing the floor. This last one was pretty distasteful, as a number of the callers have said, and I just think that voters are going to start to really, really feel disenchanted, and that their vote doesn't matter, and that becomes a problem with our democracy in general.
It sure does, so, especially at a time. I mean, half the people aren't voting already. What if you tell them your vote doesn't really matter? I'm going to switch teams willy-nilly.
Yeah, that's not going to get the movement we want.
It's not going to get people out to vote, is it? No. I thank you for your call, Dave. You're very thoughtful. I appreciate it. I have to end the conversation there, however. One of the things, I'll just add this. You may want to weigh in on this. You see, when this happens, this is kind of the political comms person coming out in me. When these people cross the floor, they are put on full display by the Liberal Party. If you watch Question Period, for example, if you want to, suffer through that verbal enema on a daily basis, if you watch Question Period, you will see that they place strategically in the camera shot these floor crossers right next to Mark Carney. Oh, there's Michael Maw, the guy who questioned, and defended the use of slave labor by China. He's sitting right next to the Prime Minister. There's Chris D'Entremont, who spent not only time as a federal conservative, but previous to that was a conservative in the Nova Scotia provincial government. Had never been a Liberal politician, but there he is. Now he's a conservative because he didn't get to be the Speaker of the House when he had the opportunity. Sour grapes there. But they put these people on prominent display. You know, they seat them right next to the prime minister. They give them speaking time during question period. They let them ask questions during committees when most of them have never had that opportunity. And there you have Marilyn Glad, who decked out in her Liberal red, as one of the previous callers said, dancing like she's on a cruise ship. Do these people not understand, from a political communications point, that half the people in the country view these floor crossers as nothing but a bunch of backstabbing, scheming traitors and opportunists? Like, why are you putting these people on display? It makes absolutely no political sense to me whatsoever. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, and Ali is up next on Talkback Friday Free for All. Hi, Ali.
Hello?
Ali. Yeah, Ali.
Yes.
Hi there.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Yeah, very good, Ali. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks very much. I'm going to talk about something like a little bit different than what everybody's talking about right now, which is the elections and people jumping in, which I love it, because people correcting each other, right? So we go to the right bus, we change, no problem with that. My topic is about the feeder main. I live in Calgary, where we have a feeder main, crisis. I think it blew up a few times during the last couple of years.
Yep, the water crisis. Yep.
Familiar. Yeah, so I don't know, like I live very close by. There's one thing I want to mention. I have realized, because usually I go to bed around 9 o'clock or so, and our neighborhood is very quiet, and then you start hearing everything. The most thing I realized that going a little bit louder or more often, which is the train. And then I saw that, the train is actually running parallel to that feeder main, like very close, and maybe it crosses sometimes. Do the engineers check about, the vibration, the sound? Because I can hear it. I'm like almost like 2 kilometers away from that feeder main. And I can hear that train every day a few times. And it's it just look like it's running in my backyard or back alley. It's very close, look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so you're wondering, maybe it is worthy of an investigation, Ali. I don't know. You're wondering if the train vibrations are somehow maybe compromising the integrity of that water main. Is that your question?
Yes. And that pipe is like a huge pipe, and I believe it's a concrete. Try to imagine the concrete with vibration. That's a solid thing. It will lose, right? It will have some crack and start developing through the years, right? So we're just wondering, somebody investigate that. Why the train is running more often now? It's like
that's really interesting. I didn't think about that. I'm not a civil engineer. I wouldn't have the answer to that. But that's an interesting hypothesis that you're putting out there, Ali. Thank you. Zach is up next. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Rob. It's good to hear from you. I love your show. I listen to it as often as I can.
I know. I appreciate that, Zach. What's on your mind today?
These, to be honest with you, these recent floor crossing events and the attacks on Pierre, it's kind of been like the most demoralizing political events I've seen in my life of following Canadian politics.
Really?
That was until I heard
you
that
must be young.
man.
You must be young. I mean, if you are a conservative supporter, you are in for a lifetime of disappointment, Zach. I hate to break that to you.
Fair enough. It was the most demoralizing thing I heard today until I heard that man saying him and his friend circle want to take a pill and end their lives. I mean, my God, that's heartbreaking. I just want to say to that generation, I look up to you guys. And as a young person, we need you. You know, the caller who made the comment about the LED lights, that is something I never would have thought of as a young person. And it's one of the many wise insights the older generation gives us with. And on that,
you're talking about the caller who you're talking about the caller who telephoned and said he thinks part of the reason there are so many pedestrian collisions right now with vehicles is because they've dimmed the street lamps with the LED lights.
I never would have thought about that. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm younger, right? We grew up with the LED lights, and what we're talking about the Calgary traffic. There's kind of two things I was thinking about. You know, I agree with a lot of the callers. The distracted pedestrians is huge. I see it every day, especially at those weird crosswalks you mentioned.
Yeah,
but
I hate those.
I was actually talking to my stepmother about this. She's an immigrant from Brazil, and she also made a fascinating, wise comment I never thought of. She told me where she's from. I didn't fact check her, but she told me where she's from, the pedestrians don't have right of way. And she told me it took her a long time when she got to Canada to get used to it, being the other way around. And considering the huge population we've gained in Calgary, and even like you were saying, the high concentration of collisions in the Northeast, anyone who lives in Calgary knows that's the lion's share of the immigrants live in that area. I wonder if there's something in what she said about that. But for the other comment, I see it all the time with the distracted pedestrians. You know, their phones kind of in their faces, or they don't make eye contact. That was something I was always taught as a kid. You make eye contact with the driver before you cross.
Yeah. Interesting comments all around. Zach, good to hear from you once more, but we will have to stop here. Time is winding down, but we will fit you in on the Friday Free For All Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go to Ben, is a first-time caller on the Friday Free For All Talkback. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Rob. How are you today?
Yeah, just great, Ben. Weather could be better, but other than that, no complaints.
Excellent. Well, I got a story. So McLeod Trail that you were talking about, I just about got hit when I was in my early 20s. And luckily, I always tell my three kids that I made a rule for myself early on in life not to be on the phone. And that's exactly what saved me. Guy was making a left-hand turn, and I just happened to be in his blind spot of his A-post of his vehicle. And I was able to jump and get out of the way of the vehicle so that I didn't get run over. So now I teach my kids, I'm like, yes, although you might have shared responsibility on the road, it doesn't matter because you're going to hurt a lot more when you get hit by that vehicle. I think the best way to teach kids isn't to tell them about shared responsibility, but rather actually tell them, would you step in front of an adult running as fast as they can? And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't be getting in front of a vehicle that weighs 100 times more or much more than that. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. And secondly, I wanted to call in yesterday to your discipline talk. Yes. I'm the third of five boys in my family, and my dad said I was by far the most disciplined child out of all of his kids. And I have no issue with them. I see my parents regularly. Me and my five brothers all have kids. We're all married. I don't see any of us having any issue with our parents' parenting method. I think they did it in a very loving way. I think the part that got us wasn't.
Well, if I could just interrupt there, Ben, for people who didn't hear that show yesterday, we were talking about corporal punishment. Should corporal punishment be used to discipline a child? Were you spanked as a child?
Yes. Yeah.
You were.
Spanked.
All right. I just wanted to get a better sense of where you're coming from there.
And just most people think that I might recall lots of those spankings. I think if I was to give that oxygen, it would take too much time of my day to try and think of them all. If somebody was to interrogate me, I couldn't recall more than five, and the five that I can remember, I had coming for sure. So I don't see any issue to it. What in my experience, the kids that were disciplined very rarely were the most butthurt about it. They were the ones that could recall everything about it, how they were wronged or how they felt they were wronged. I also felt that most of those kids were either two-kid families or single-kid families where they had too much time to dwell on it. As in a five-kid family, they didn't have as much time to dwell on it. And to this day, I got my birthday coming up here in a couple days. I know my mom's going to ask me, what do I want for my birthday? And I'm going to tell her the same thing I tell her every year, which is I thank her for putting in all that effort that she did so that I could have all the brothers. Most kids now, over 50% of Canadian families are single kid families. So I realize I'm in a big minority there, and I thank my mom and dad every single birthday for all the brothers that I got.
Sounds like a charmed life. Thank you, Ben, for your call. I think that's going to have to be it. I'm sorry that we did not get to everyone today. Sometimes it's just busy and the time is tight. I do apologize for that, but there's always Monday. I hope you do enjoy your weekend. We will be back. We will be talking politics. Monday's going to be a big news day in politics. There are those 3 by-elections, and I believe shortly after the polls closed, we will be talking about a Liberal majority government. So we'll be discussing how that changes the nature of our politics and the country going forward. That'll be a big story again on Monday, and we'll do Talkback as well with more of your calls, more of your opinions. And until then, always the latest breaking news. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.